Still got quite a mess here. Did a pretty good preliminary wipe up in the front. Need a little bit more juice, I think. That's just simple green, that's nothing special. There's some pretty good gnarliness in here. If you see all this discoloration, it's pretty grody. So hopefully we can make some progress on that without using an entire box of rags. Working pretty good though. Got what was there. Pretty all right. This is going to be a real pain. I think this is probably going to need something a little more than what I'm giving it. There's a lot of crotuses here. Oh, that's tasty up there. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that's the stuff. If you're a little bit smarter than me early on in your project, you'd probably do all your underbody work and grinding and all that before you took the seals and everything else out of the car. The windows, left it all out in the open air for all the grinding residue to just settle on in, find a home. But here we are, paying the price. All right. Spent some time this afternoon, did some power washing in the Rambler here. It was pretty filthy, but I don't know if I made it better or worse. So I got down here into the trunk, and what do you know? All that garbage blew up from in the crevices, both sides. So it blew all over everything. I'm gonna get a vacuum, get this cleaned up. Alright, so I started getting into a little bit of a trap, chasing onesie-twosie little rust holes. And at the end of the day, it's just going to be a lot easier just to make a big patch, fit it once, weld it once, and be done with the whole mess. So this area here, real pitted, lots of little pinholes everywhere, and chasing those out would be a real pain. So I'm gonna get a patch made up and see if we can replicate this detail on the bead roller and just get her taken care of. Alright, got through this patch here. Not too bad. Can't complain too much. Floor's a lot stiffer there now that it's full strength. Next, turning focus back here in this window channel. Got ourselves a little bit of a problem. Right there. The other side's got a little bit of bit of rust, but we're not going to worry too much about that side over there. It's not rusted through. I think we're just going to do our best with that. But this here, clearly a problem. This is a pretty small patch. I don't know if I've got tools small enough to make cuts like that, but we'll see. Alright, we've been working hard and in the final stretch here, getting ready to do some primer in some of these areas. The primary push, of course, is to get into a state where we can start doing some assembly. And to make that happen, I'm going to get primer and paint inside of the window channels here, front and back. Obviously, so that when I get the engine in, I can go for a test drive without getting pulled over for not having a windshield. And then I don't have to worry about, you know, we'll see when the time comes whether or not I pull it back out. But I plan to have a wide enough breadth here where I can blend in. Anyway, I gotta get some masking done on the firewall so that our overspray doesn't blow through everything. Get all masked up. Here, do some masking underneath and on the inside. Then we'll be ready to spray some primer, some epoxy primer. And then maybe, just maybe, we'll have a little sneak peek at the color for this car. Well, I got all the way to the store and came back. Turns out I do have film. So we'll get this loaded up. If you don't have like a fancy masker, these hand maskers work pretty good for this rolled type stuff, or your masking paper. This is not the right masking paper for this, but I'm going to switch this out real quick. You don't want to be using home center masking paper because it's not going to resist the solvents. So, just something to be aware of. Get over there. Where'd my tape go? Here's my tape. All right, just about ready to get started here. I got some primer. We're gonna get the gun set up. Gonna do a little bit of degrease here in the general vicinity. Then we'll get to spraying. A couple of things this is gonna do for me. This spray here is gonna tell me if my setup is actually gonna work for full spray. We'll see. Compressor's not very big. Missing a few parts that would help, but we'll see how it goes. And if it sprays out well, if the compressor keeps up, if the exhaust is able to keep up, then maybe we might have some success later on. finally got some real progress here. We got actually some epoxy primer sprayed on the floor of the car here on the inside around our windshield areas, and what that means now, I get some seam sealing done in there, and we're just gonna keep rolling right along. But take a quick tour here. What we got? Mainly just focused on the windshield channel there, and we'll get some color on there. That way, if at some point we need to install this glass to do some sort of test drive, we can do so without guilt. So, inside came out okay. It's good enough for what it is. We're gonna get some seam sealer on our welds and around the floor pans where we had to dig it out. There's some sealing that needs to be done up there on the cowl area as well. Now there's a lot of seam sealer left over, which is, it is what it is. There was a lot of seam sealer that was still good. Seemed like it was well adhered, it was solid, so I didn't feel the need to dig it all out to do that. So we're just gonna supplement with some fresh stuff, and then that'll get us moving along. Back in here, it's a couple of days since we did our primer surfacer, or our epoxy primer in our window area and our floors. Did our little experiment with the air setup, with the compressor, the sprayer, our exhaust, and I gotta be honest, I'm a little disappointed. Mainly for the fact that the compressor did so well that I don't have an excuse now to go looking for a scroll compressor or a screw. So here we are. We're going to run it as is. It actually came out very nice, much better than expected. So you know, that's as good as I could ask for. But that's not the reason I'm out here tonight. Tonight is pretty exciting for me. May not be for you, but it is for me. And it's the first time I'm actually going to see the color for this car. Now, my wife picked out a color chip from a hardware store and said, here you go. I took that down to this paint supply and I said, what can you do for me? And so they did their best to match. And we're gonna see how close they came. So I'm gonna get exhaust fired up, get suited up, and we're gonna break this can open and see what we have inside. Dun, dun, dun. Looks like we got some pigment down in the bottom. Now this is just an acrylic enamel, no metallic. Trying to keep it simple on this car. I got a feeling that's going to look nice. Alright, let's get set up, get some mix going. I'm not going to mix too much. We're just doing the window channels tonight, so about 10 ounces, I think, 3 coats. I'll probably have some left over. Give it a try. Check it out. It's the next morning. So this has had some time to cure. Very nice. You know, I can't complain about that. That worked real well. Very minimal orange peel up here. In the back, had a little bit more of an orange peel effect. I started out a little bit dry, but I think I was able to correct it for the most part. Yeah, I'm real happy with the way that turned out. Now, when we get to do an actual full paint, obviously we got some body work to do on the whole car. We'll get this nice and blended out. The important part that we were trying to get was this pinch weld, this window channel, so that if we need to put the windshields in, we can do so and not have to worry so much about having to take stuff back out. And I don't know if that logic makes any sense, but that's what I'm going with. And we're gonna keep moving ahead. Once we get this unmasked, it'll be time to get back underneath the car and do some spot priming down there. I don't think I'm gonna do, we'll see. We'll see how much priming I need to do underneath the car. But I'm gonna try to just get away with spot priming because we're gonna do an undercoat on the whole thing. And we're going to try to do spot prime underneath the car if we can. If I have to epoxy the whole thing, then I will. But once that's complete, then we can actually start getting some things assembled back in the car. And that's going to be a pretty exciting time, actually making some real progress and be well on our way to having something we can drive.